I'd like to talk a little bit about how to learn hypnosis, how to teach hypnosis. You see, I think that all learning, all behavior, and all change happen at the unconscious level first. And then the conscious mind catches up to it. Now, that sounds a little bit strange because you think about all the times that you learned something consciously, and well, it kind of worked out that way too, did it not? But just pause and think about it. Let's go back and think about anything you've learned, whether it was math, whether it was driving a car, or any other skill. Initially, when you learn it consciously, there's an awkwardness to it. You have to keep reminding yourself of doing steps, and it's difficult, it's overloading, it's challenging. And there's nothing wrong with that approach to learning. It actually can work just fine. But that's called in neuroscience top-down learning. In hypnosis, we call that conscious learning. We are repeating things consciously until they are ingrained at the unconscious or the subconscious level, and then we'll carry them on subconsciously, which is when they become easy and natural to us. But what if we flip this around? Psychology calls this flip implicit learning, as opposed to the explicit learning of the conscious mind. In neuroscience, this is called bottom-up learning. In hypnosis, we call it unconscious learning. This is where we get the unconscious mind to take over the task, the skill, the behavior, whatever it might be, and get it to do it first. And then the conscious mind only gets to catch up to what the unconscious mind is already doing over time. That way you have the perfect balance. The unconscious mind makes things easier. You learn faster. It has greater capacity to join with other skills and experiences you've had. And the conscious mind, in time, as it joins it, supervises, decides when to use the skills, where to use the skills, and how to improve that particular skill. So, if all learning and all behavior and all change happen unconsciously first, then surely you want to learn hypnosis at the unconscious level and then let the conscious mind catch up to it. This is a grounding philosophy in how we at the Hypnosis Training Academy teach hypnosis. First of all, it's hands-on. Theory is kept down to a minimum. Why? Because theory doesn't make good hypnotists. Practice does. This is not a spectator sport. So you've got to get engaged. And by the way, theory is something the conscious mind loves. Practice is something the unconscious mind loves. Just to dive in. So we have rule number one, we need to have practice. Second rule is we must engage the unconscious process. We've got to set up exercises in such a way that the conscious mind does not interfere with an unconscious process. We want to evoke unconscious processes that are already there, so that as they combine with each other, a new process, a new learning, or a new skill emerges organically, naturally, that then the conscious mind can use on a more purposeful sort of way. So what does it look like? Okay, so we'll do a task. It might be a language thing, it might be a hypnotic induction, whatever it might be. And we're going to make it so simple that the conscious mind doesn't interfere, but have within it enough complexity, enough room to maneuver that the unconscious mind can take over all the different nuances of how this thing works. As you repeat it, it's just like a fun game for you. But bit by bit, as you collect more and more of these experiences and start putting them together, the unconscious mind starts building this really rich template of what hypnosis looks like, feels like, and is like. So by the time you start using it, it just becomes second nature to you. I'd like to give an example of what I mean by this. In order to create hypnotic language smoothly and effortlessly, we created a deck of cards called the Hypnotic Language Shortcut System. And we sold it. We've been selling this for decades now, and it's been very successful. One day, a student comes to one of our live trainings, and he's very shy. He said, I've been, studying hypnosis for 2 years. This is conscious learning, right? I've been playing with the cards, but I just can't seem to use the language anywhere that I go to. I said, okay, no worries. Just get along with the exercises. We'll see what happens, right? Before the end of day one, the very first day of training, he comes back after a lunch break and he said his mind was blown. Why? Because all those years of consciously studying language created kind of a mental barrier, mental block from using it in the places he wanted to, in social settings and so on. He found that after just literally half a day, 3/4 of a day of training with us, all that learning had evoked unconscious abilities within him. And the exercises he was practicing had unlocked those hidden talents, shall we say, so that together with the conscious stuff he'd be practicing in theory only, and the unconscious experiences that were already inside of his mind, they suddenly came together beautifully just in the moment. And then that lunch break, he found he just couldn't turn off his hypnotic language. He was talking with it everywhere, wherever he was going. So this is the beauty of learning at the unconscious level. It's easy, it's fun, it's engaging, and best of all, it comes out exactly when you need it, how you need it, at the right time. So hopefully you'll join me in the understanding or the excitement that this opens up for us. No longer do we have to do rote learning and hard learning and difficult learning the way you might have experienced it at school. We can switch around, have it playful, make it fun, make it easy. And at the end of the day, we end up with more skill than if we had followed the traditional academic model. So with that thought in mind, when you're selecting a school, really keep an eye out for, do they teach the unconscious mind as well? Because we certainly do.